Everybody, welcome to this recap episode of How to Be a Real One Percenter. So we just concluded the podcast with Anthony and Rebecca Holland, and wow, what a great podcast! What great sharing that they brought. The first time that we've had a couple on the podcast. There were so many different themes. What we do in these recaps is to try to go a little bit deeper. The whole purpose of this podcast is to help people to help the people that are watching, to help you if you'd like to take a leap forward in your life. The work that I'm involved in is all about for transformation for people that want that. How do we move from wherever we feel stuck to the greatest life that we can possibly live, or whatever part we want to do. And because there's sometimes things that are hard to convey as to what we do, the podcast is about inviting some of the people that have gone through that and share and take the gold nuggets from that. And there were so many in this recent podcast with Anthony and Rebecca. The one that really comes to mind, probably two in one, is just the genuineness. It's a word that I talk about quite a lot. It's one of my favorite words, genuine or real or authentic, because they're bandied around, but when we're really ourselves, when we really do get connected, it's really magic. Life just goes to a whole different place. We're able to be real instead of trying to live life to please someone or to be what we think we need to be. We just get to be who we are. And although we bandy those words around a lot, when we really live it, it's something completely different, and it's a whole different way to live. And when I think about Anthony and Rebecca and what they brought, the honest and open sharing about Anthony's drinking addiction, alcohol addiction, where it led them, to the low point of it being extremely destructive, and to be open about it. I guess what some people will call vulnerable, I would just call it honest. To be honest about where that went. It's just magic, And when we did the work, that's really what led to it. When having been addicted to drugs in the past, I understand that it's we want to hide from that. There's something called denial, where even if we admit that we've got an issue, we don't admit it fully potentially, or we don't fully come to terms with that. That's what's happening. And, that's what occurred. So in the beginning, there was a bit of that going on. And then I remember just a session where our time we were speaking, and I just said, hey, look, if you're not going to be truthful or genuine about this, if you want it for everyone else, if you don't really want this, Anthony, then it's just not going to work. And we should probably just, stop and come back if and when you get ready in the future. And he went away and thought about that and got really, really clear. And he said, no, I want to do it. I want to do it for myself, and gave him a little exercise to do, which is to look at why he wanted it for himself. He went away and did that, and he said, yeah, I really do. He stacked up a whole bunch of reasons that he wanted it. It snapped him into, I really do want this, because he also saw what was going to happen if he didn't do it, to himself, to his family, and the impact that would have. And he just really got committed. So the end goal, outcome is he got committed, and he got genuinely so, and that's when he opened up. And you could see it here, that he really brought that, that genuineness to the podcast, and shared that journey. And the great thing about it is what happens. If I'm really honest about this, becoming genuine is it's going to be the hardest thing that we ever do. Like we have fears about doing that, all those fears about what will I find out if I truly understand who I am? If I stop having my facade or my persona, what am I going to find out about myself really? And it takes a tremendous amount of courage. I always say I've done some, I think courageous things. I used to be afraid of heights back in the day, and I jumped off a mountain on a paraglide type thing, and I thought that was courageous, but it doesn't hold a candle to the courage that it requires to go within. And I think we were able to see that on this last podcast. And, in a summary, to see the results that have happened, the impacts in the relationship between Anthony and Rebecca, because they both started doing the work, the difference in their families with their respective dealing with the stories in a genuine way that they had about their parents, and how that helped to open up their relationship, and then the space it created for the children. So it goes on and on and on, that it has impacts in our life. So it was an amazing episode. Really pleased that we had our first couple on, and there's a lot to take from that. And if you haven't seen it, please go and see the episode. But a tremendous amount to take. But if I had to say one takeaway is have the courage to do what it takes to be genuine, to ask those questions, and as Rebecca said towards the end, to identify the stories that you've got, to really, really question them, to move past them. You will never regret finding out who you really are. I promise that. Thanks, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of How to Be a Real 1%er with our next amazing guest. Yep. Was that all right? Yeah, that's good. I think it got a bit more. It's better probably than to try to I was trying to capture every